Babbies! Welcome back to my podcast where we spill the tea and tequila. Available on Spotify, Google, Apple, and YouTube. Today we have a very, very special guest, my best friend, Leah, Morgan graduate, BSN, psych nurse, on our last video of Mental Health Awareness Month. I appreciate you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So, first question, getting into the conversation of mental health awareness. Do you feel as though mental health is one of those topics that is commonly disregarded?
I feel as though in our current generation, it is neglected. In my personal opinion, in my personal experience, mental health is not seen as something that needs to be taken care of. It's more or less just something that is a construct of your imagination. I don't know if anybody else has had the same experience, but I've heard patients tell their parents that they don't feel well or they feel sad or something, and the parents will be like, I don't understand why you feel sad. You have a roof over your head. You have food on your plate. You have school to go to. There's nothing to be sad about. But it's not just a black and white thing. It's definitely a gray area to it.
Right. They see it as us being unappreciative.
Ungrateful.
Ungrateful, yes. I've definitely had the same experience where I have expressed to somebody that I haven't been feeling the best mentally, and they'll be like, well, they'll start off with, but you have so much to be grateful for. You're healthy. I'm healthy physically, which is half of the battle, and then there's a whole battle, a whole war going up in here mentally. But would you say that the importance of mental health is different based on your socioeconomic status or your culture?
Definitely. I feel as though, speaking from, the Black community and the Latino community, I feel as though in those two communities specifically, mental health is not neglected. It's not promoted that you should be taking care of yourself in that way. Even my patient population does not reflect African Americans. It doesn't reflect Latina. It doesn't reflect anything other than a Caucasian. I feel as though within those two communities specifically, not even there's just those two, but within those two communities, it's definitely neglected. When it comes to socioeconomic status, we get mainly patients that have money. They have money to go to a mental health hospital. They have money to pay out of pocket to stay in the hospital when it's, $40,000 a week to stay in the hospital. I definitely do think those two factors play a part as well.
Right. Because when you're from, I guess we could say like a lower socioeconomic status, you can't really afford to get, internalized?
Inpatient treatment,
right? Because even if you are a teenager, you have to work to provide for yourself or provide for your family. Or as we get into the adult world, you can't really afford to take even a mental health day because you need your 40 hours a week to be able to pay bills. Coming from the Latino community, and I think it's the same or similar to the Black community, it gets not disregarded, but it's not as an important topic because we have so much more to worry about.
Yep, I agree.
So as long as we're physically healthy, the rest can wait.
I agree. And also the age range between when mental health is important and not important. Like our parents and our grandparents might say, you have all these things. I don't understand why you're struggling. But we will be able to be the generation that when we have children, we're able to prioritize mental health and we understand the basic concepts of why mental health is important. As for our parents, they possibly might not have had the luxury of taking care of their mental health. As you know, mental health was not a big aspect when they were growing up. So of course in their adult lives, it's not an aspect now. And they're not understanding why it's an aspect in our lives as of right now. Especially with everything that's going on in the world.
Right, yeah. Coming from our parents' perspective, because our parents are like about the same age. Like you said, I don't think they had that luxury to be able to sit down and actually take a moment and think about what they were going through to process things. Like, I know my father, he came to this country, a whole foreign country, at the age of 17. So whether he was having a bad day or not, he had to get up and go to work every day and figure out one way or another. And I'm sure it was hard being away from his family, being in another country, not speaking the language, but he didn't have any other option but to go out there and get it.
Agreed.
But I also agree with you where you said that our generation will be the generation that changes their perspective a little bit more. I know I used to have really bad anxiety attacks. And at first they were like, well, you're just exaggerating. You're overreacting for no reason. Get over it. And slowly, and I'm thankful that they are like a little open to learning a little bit more, because it's something that they're not used to. Slowly they started understanding the topic of anxiety, of okay, this is out of my control. What can we do? Even if it isn't like their way, like what's the little thing that we can do to try to help you out a little bit?
And that took you vouching for yourself too, through your parents and saying, I need help, and continue to vouch no matter what they said for them to finally understand. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that, which is, upsetting.
Right, yeah.
And usually it's not, when they're in a situation like that, the family doesn't understand until it's too late.
Right.
Or they're in an inpatient hospital because they had suicidal ideation, or they tried to commit suicide, or they have homicidal ideation, or tried to hurt somebody, stuff like that. So.
Right. With people who aren't open to at least hearing, if they aren't willing to learn.
I have a lot of patients that come back to the hospital just because they want to be heard and seen. They'll come to the hospital in the first place just to be helped, and then they'll go home right back to the same situation that they were in, and they'll be right back institutionalized. And it's an upsetting circumstance to see the rotation, the same patients come back over and over.
Yes, definitely, because all the progress that you've made, all the support that you got,
it crashes by the time they go home. Yeah.
Because now they're right back to the environment that put them there in the first place most of the time.
Yep.
Do you think that society's views and approach changes when it comes to men versus women?
Yes. So I will, reverting back to my patient population, most of my patients are female. I would say I have a 20 patient unit. Of the 20 patients, we have 2 males. That's it. 18 females, 2 males. And I don't think that is because one gender is mentally stronger than the other or anything of that nature. I really do just believe that when it comes to men specifically, or boys, their mental health is neglected, because we have the toxic stigmatism of, if you're a man or you're a boy, you should not feel certain things, or you should not react a certain way. For us females, when we get emotional, it's normal. We're emotional creatures. So we can get emotional and nobody judges us, or we can do something that is an emotional nature and they just say it's just how we are as a species. But when it comes to men, if they do something emotional, then they're not manly enough, or they're crybabies, or they're acting like a female, stuff like that. And it's sad, because unfortunately suicide rates in men are a lot higher because of that. So
Right. Yeah. Even when some men do ask for help, they're neglected.
And men also don't show that they need help either because of those stigmatisms that men can't show emotions. Or men should not feel a certain way when some things happen, or men need to be stronger. So when the time comes and they're struggling, they don't ask for help, and then they either commit suicide, unfortunately, or something else happens and it's just too late to help them.
Right, like you said earlier, a lot of people don't listen until it's too late, and then they're wondering, well, what went wrong, where there were signs the entire time. But I think as a society, we, nurture to women a lot more.
Nurture women.
Like, oh, she's crying, let me see what I can do to stop her from crying, even if they don't take the time to acknowledge or go deeper into the problem. They at least give them the attention needed. That can be like a temporary band-aid. Whereas the men, like you said, they grow up with this image of, I have to be the one to take care of others. And if they're not able to, well, everything you just said, if they're not able to provide help, they feel less of a man. They don't want to be helped.
Men are more prone to help others than to help themselves. And that has a lot to do with not being able to grow up and properly show their emotions.
Right. Yes, and I think culture has something to do with that as well.
I agree. A lot of the time, like if you see a young boy crying, I won't say a lot of the time. There's sometimes where you might see a young boy crying, but behind closed doors, their parents or even like grandparents or any family members might be telling their little boy, why are you crying? Why are you acting like a little girl? Only girls cry. That's the favorite, right? Only girls cry. Only girls show emotions. Why are you crying? And that is so toxic. It's so toxic to the point where a lot of men nowadays, now that they've grown up with that mindset, they don't show emotions at all. And they block themselves off from everyone, and they go through things alone. They don't seek help. And their life just goes downhill from that because they don't ask anybody for help.
Right. They don't learn how to properly express their feelings and how to deal with those emotions. So once they finally gotten up to a point where they feel full, per se, they explode.
And that can be whether it's in anger and they lash out and do things that they don't mean to do, or it can be within sadness and they commit suicide or they hurt themselves or just stuff like that.
Right, yes. I've met some kids where our generation, like we said earlier, I feel like our generation is a little bit different. So I've met little boys, like family friends, where their parents were telling me, oh, they got in a fight and they're just such a bad little boy and I don't understand why he's acting this way. And I approached it from a different perspective of, I'm not mad at you. I want to help you, because if you reacted this way, it hadn't been a reason why. Like, what happened that made you build up all this anger that you just lashed out on everybody? What's the matter? And I think that people just don't take the time to understand the reasoning behind certain things, especially with men. Because women, I feel like when it comes to like lashing out in anger, women don't. Well, and that would also be because women have the ability to express emotions more, so they don't get to that point. But when they see an angry man, it's just automatically, oh, they're violent and they're up to no good, but they don't take the time to ask, well, how did you even get to that point? Because there had been a reason.
Women also are able to act in different ways when it comes to their emotion, like you said. Like, a man might not be able to cry about something, but if he hits somebody, he's a man because he acted out in violence. Unfortunately, that's something that's allowed and kind of pushed, is if you're angry, they can be like, go hit a pillow or something like that. But if you hit things, you're actually training your brain to always respond like that when you feel that emotion. Fun fact. If you act out in a certain way consistently, you're training your brain to act in that same way every time. So you'll see a little boy who, when he gets mad, he might go in his room and punch his pillow. And later on, that might turn into a man who punches people in the face because he's angry. But for women, when we're little girls, we can cry. We can hit things. I'm sure we can hit things. We can, get angry. And then later on in life, we're able to cry. We're able to also hit things. Like, men don't get the same type of treatment. So there's some women that don't get the same treatment either, but for the majority of things, men don't get the same treatment when it comes to mental health.
Right, yeah. And like you said, if they train their brain to respond with anger, that's all they'll know how to do. But that also goes back to training your brain from a young age to where if you feel frustrated, I really do think our generation will be different. But like if I have a kid one day, I want them to be able to come to me when they feel like, like a little frustration. So then we can work on ways of how they can handle that. So that way they don't get to a point where they only know how to respond to anger, with anger.
And it does go for men and women.
Is there anything that you wish people understood better about mental health or knew about mental health?
I feel like I wish people understood more that the external of your life and of your appearance has a really big effect on your mental health. So, like, my thing is, the way I feel on the inside is how everything looks on the outside. If I'm stressed out and I'm upset or something, my room might be a mess. I might have on some baggy pants and a hoodie and my hair might be a mess. But as soon as I start to clean up and get a little organized and I'm in the shower and do my hair, I start to feel better internally. So I just wish people understood that those two things do go hand in hand. Being organized and being stressed out and then being internally sad, it's all really the same thing. It's all a linear line and they all mean the same thing.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Like when I was going through a bit of rougher times, I could lie to my mom and tell her I'm doing great, I'm good, don't worry about me. She would FaceTime me and be like, flip the camera over. And that, like, so she could see how my room was. If it was dirty, then she'd be like, you're not okay. You're not, like, when I'm okay, it's clean, things are organized. When I'm not, it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna go to sleep. It might be a mess, I might look a mess, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to sleep.
That's why getting out is also really important to your mental health. Getting out, just getting in the sunshine, maybe just touching the grass, like something outside of your household or outside of work is really important. It shouldn't just be straight work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep. That's really toxic as well. And I feel like that goes back to like generational also. I feel as though our parents didn't have a lot of time to get out, get in the world, get out to the world, travel and do everything they wanted to do. It was always, I need to go to work, I need to make money, I need to go home, I need to go back to work. It was like that. But now, in our generation, we prioritize leaving the country, leaving the states, going on road trips, going out to bars, going out to eat, just getting out. That's really important as well.
Yes. And like you said earlier, maybe they just didn't have the luxury to do those things. But I also do think our generation takes mental health into consideration a lot more. Like,
we have mental health wellness days too. Like jobs, different jobs have mental health days. I know Morgan, we used to have mental health days. I feel like it could have been more, but I mean, I'll take whatever they gave. So we would have a week of mental health days.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, They kind of took away our spring break for it, but whatever.
Oh.
Yeah. But I'll take it because it's better than not having anything.
Kinda.
But before that, like during COVID, they knew how hard it was on people, so we would have mental wellness days.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Like middle of the week too. It would be like you would go to school Monday, Tuesday, then we would have a wellness day on Wednesday. Go back to school Thursday, Friday, and have the weekend. Like it was really nice.
Now that you bring up COVID, that clicked something in my brain about going outside. Oh my God. I was working from home. Well, you know this, but I was working from home during COVID. So not only was everything closed, stores and bars and restaurants, but the only reason I had to go outside got taken away from me as well. So sure, I was still making money. Money wasn't an issue. If anything, I was saving more money because I didn't have to pay for transportation to get to and from work. But emotionally, I was going through hell. And people would tell me, like, I don't understand why you complaining. You're living the life. You can just be at home. You don't have to leave your house. That's the issue. I don't leave my house. I look at the same four walls every single day. And then I would work from my bedroom. So it was like, well, I go to sleep here. I wake up. It kind of just felt like I wake up, I go to sleep, and I'm still at work. I'm never leaving work. So I ended up quitting because I couldn't do it. I needed a reason to go outside just to get some fresh air.
Yeah, COVID definitely affected a lot of people's mental health, like worldwide. Psychiatric institutes and hospitals, their population rate like skyrocketed. Like it went up so high that there wasn't enough beds. That's how bad it was. Just because COVID had such a negative toll on people's mental health because of, like you said, they were in their houses, isolated in the same four walls. There was nothing to do, no one to see. You weren't able to. Some people weren't able to contact family. People were dying.
Yes, COVID. I feel like as our generation always took mental health a little bit more serious, but as a society, we took it a lot more serious after COVID.
Definitely.
Before, I felt like I was a little bit more antisocial up until COVID hit, and I didn't even have the option to socialize. Then it was like, oh, I guess I do need to see people.
Yeah, definitely. You need to like be in other people's energy sometimes. Like just being in somebody else's energy can boost your battery.
Don't mind me. Getting to know other people. I would say that's also one of the things that helped me heal was getting to know more people and hearing their story, understanding different perspectives. Because I feel like sometimes we can get trapped in our own thoughts. And once you start talking to other people, you explore other options, other perspectives.
See, I like having conversations like this with my patients. We have, like today we had a great debate. We had a debate on college. And then the debate on college turned into a debate on stuff that's happening in the world, like abortion and, stuff with racial disparities. And I was talking about hospital care because, of course, they're young. So when they do get older, they'll have to take care of themselves when it comes to medical emergencies and appointments and going to the doctors, everything like that. So I have conversations like this with my patients a lot, actually. A lot. We definitely have good talks about real life stuff. And that's really important to them because sometimes some of them don't have people who are older to guide them.
Yes. Yeah, they're limited to the mentalities around them. Yes. And yeah, like you said, it is important so they can be, so they can be open to other people's realities as well. Yeah. When I was in college, I took philosophy, and it was one of my favorite classes.
Yeah, I liked philosophy too.
Loved philosophy, and we would talk about all sorts of different topics from, people from all sorts of different social economic status and cultures and religious backgrounds, and it would be really interesting how I would just never think of some options because I had just never been exposed to that type of environment. And it wasn't that anybody was wrong, it was just that we simply did not know that there could be a different perspective on the topic. But in your opinion, what are some signs that someone could be going through a hard time emotionally or mentally?
So that question is really hard actually because you really never know. You might see the person and there'll be smiles and giggles and laughs and conversations, and they might be going through something terrible at home. You really never know. Like some of my patients, they seem so happy. Like you would never know that they were going through something at home. You would never know it unless they told you. You would never know because they're just happy, joyful kids. And the same thing goes with adults. Like most of the time when somebody dies or somebody commits suicide, you'll see posts on Instagram and they're like, we didn't even know he seemed so happy. This was him last week, and there's a picture of them smiling, and then a week later they're gone. You just never know. Now, signs that we learn in school are that you might possibly see the person giving their possessions away. You might see somebody isolating themselves a little bit more than usual. They might not respond to you. They might respond to calls or messages anymore. They might quit their job. Just something like life changes that aren't normal. Like you would never see somebody just randomly giving away their Xbox. Like that's not something that usually happens. So those are definitely signs to watch out for with your loved ones. But you really never know. That's why you should be checking up on people and their mental health as much as you can.
Right. Yes. The isolating one. I feel like just like how some people respond with anger, other people who weren't heard, like in their childhood years or where they feel like they haven't been heard in life, they tend to isolate themselves because that's the only way that they know how to deal with their emotions. I would say that's one of the signs when slowly they start distancing themselves a little bit more. I would say that from experience, not eating or eating less is another sign that they're not doing well.
Drinking more. Substance use,
yes. Not like if they're a person to, like for women, I feel like if they're a person that likes to do their makeup or likes to do their hair and then like slowly they start letting themselves go. Like you said earlier, your exterior reflects on your interior most of the time. But then there's also some women who will appear to be fine on the outside, hair done, makeup done, but will be going through a really tough time internally. So, yeah.
That's why it's a really difficult question. Like, it's not a black and white situation. Like, it's really a gray area situation. Because you never know. Because you might have somebody that just, they're not big on appearance. And that's just them. And they're not going through anything. And then you have some people that were never big on appearance, and then all of a sudden they're trying to look different, or they're trying to take care of themselves more, and you can then obviously see maybe they were going through something at the time. You really never know.
Right, yeah. Some, when it comes to like outer appearance, some women, or I guess men too, they're trained to always, I guess, look good regardless of what they're going through, and just not even acknowledge the interior part in their head. Well, if I look good on the outside, that's enough. Yeah.
You also gotta watch out for the people that have something traumatic happen and they don't grieve. For example, like if somebody close, if somebody's father or mother, God forbid, passes away, and this person seems as though they're just ripping and running all day, they're not slowing down, they're continuing with their lives, they're going to work, going to bar, doing just everything under the sun except grieving, that's another thing that you gotta watch out for. Because it's very possible that they're trying to do all these things to distract themselves from the sadness or from the grief. And once they get alone, or once they do have that time to grieve, they're not going to do it appropriately.
Because they didn't take that time to process. Even with like breakups, I've seen people who they just keep going. They just keep going, and I guess that's like a defense mechanism. That's like a defense mechanism where they just, if they keep themselves busy, if they keep going, they won't feel anything. But I think that people need to understand that it's important to feel. You need to feel, because if you don't feel it in the moment, or if you don't allow yourself to feel in the moment, you're going to feel it later. It's not one of them things that you can just skip through. You have to go through it. And it's gonna hurt. Like, I know a lot of situations hurt, but it's gonna hurt either way. In some cases, it'll hurt more.
Definitely.
Because once it finally hits, months later, weeks later, you'll be sitting there thinking like, yeah. But as a friend, as a family member, as a partner, how would you say that we can be there for someone when they are going through a tough time?
It's really not complicated. It's really just giving them the option to speak to you and vent to you about things. And I'm not saying that you have to prioritize somebody else's mental health over yours, because your mental health is just as important, but just making sure that you allow people to be comfortable enough to vent to you and to come to you about things. That's really all it is. That's all it is. And it's kind of still hard, because I understand that some people don't feel comfortable venting to other people about things, but at least giving them the option to, because that's really all somebody needs at the moment when they're in between wanting to commit suicide or needing somebody to just be there. It really just be the option to have that person. That's all it is.
Right, yeah. Like, it's definitely nice to have the option to. I think that just being there, even if they don't want to talk about whatever they're going through, just being there helps. And before, I used to feel as though I had to be there in person. Over the last year, I've kind of learned that you don't necessarily have to be there in person all the time to be there for someone, but just for them to know that someone cares. That'll make the biggest difference, whether it's just like a good morning message, or just hanging out with the person.
It reminded me of our daily good mornings.
Yes. Yes, we have a thing where, like, sometimes at first I have better, is that a word?
Better?
I have better.
Better?
I have better, yeah.
Better.
Okay.
Better?
I have better in my communication skills?
No.
No.
I have
Worked on.
improved.
There we go.
Improved?
Yes, I have improved my communication skills a lot. But at first, it started off with, girl, just send me a good morning message. That's it. That's all. She'd be like, I understand if you can't do nothing else. Just good morning. Just so I know you're alive.
At least so I know you're alive. It's been like that for what now? 5 years? 6 years?
Yeah. Because when we were in high school, you would see me at school. So it's like, okay, this girl came to school. She's alive. Once we got to college, and it's like, well, girl, are you alive? Are you okay? Just, if you don't want to talk, just send me
a good morning. Good morning, sis. That's all I need.
That's all I need. Go on about your day.
I ain't gonna bother you no more. I just need to know. I need to know you're alive and breathing and well.
That's for 24 hours.
Yes, every 24 hours, time marked.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not text me good morning, I'm gonna panic.
And there's been times where there's been times where I forgot and you ended up texting Jacob.
Yeah.
I
did. I texted Jakey. I was like, Jakey, Maria hasn't responded to me in 24 hours. I know y'all went out last night. Is she alive? That's all I didn't know. And he would send me, yeah, she's alive. She's in her room sleeping. Like, okay, that's all I didn't know. Yep. Yeah. I need that confirmation.
Yes. But that has helped me a long way, just knowing that someone cares. Her and my mom, y'all have the same thing. Just text me good morning. That is it. Yes.
That's all it takes, though. That's really all it takes. It's just having somebody to just do that. It doesn't even have to be like an everyday thing, like every other day or, at least like 3 times a week. Just say, hey, how are you feeling today? How's your mentality today? Did anything happen that you want to talk about? Just anything like that. And it can be through text. You can call somebody. You can be there in person. It don't matter. As long as it's just you give somebody the option to even be like, no, I don't feel okay today. Like, just give those people the option. If you really care about them, that's all they need.
Yes. Make them feel like regardless of whatever they're going through, they can come to you. Like, even if it's, how do I say this? Even if it's like a disappointing situation, like they just let them know whatever the situation is, we'll figure it out. Like judgment-free zone.
Judgment-free zone, yes. Judgment-free zone. That's what people need. They don't need you bashing them. Because people like do that, or using it against them later on when y'all get in an argument. It's just, that's not truly being there for somebody. That's being there for the circumstance.
Or I would say that, like, some people even do that just to make themselves feel good. I'm like, well, I let you vent to me. Well, you weren't any help. If anything, like when you start bashing people, you made them feel worse. That's not what they needed. If they wanted to bash, then they could have bashed themselves. They came to you looking for support, for some words, even if you don't agree with whatever is going on. Like, there's a solution. You sitting there judging them isn't gonna solve anything. Yes. But you have graduated with your bachelor's in nursing and you have experience in the psych department. Was there anything in specific that motivated you to go into this field?
My answer always remains the same, and I always say it's because when it comes to mental health, well, specifically for me, for the Black community, I feel like it's underrepresented. You don't see a lot of Black psychologists, therapists, mental health workers, psych nurses. You don't see that. And the same thing goes for other minority races. It's the same thing. You don't see a lot of representation when it comes to it. So that's my main reason. I do want to open up my own psych clinic somewhere in the Baltimore City area because, like I said, it's very underrepresented and it's very neglected.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And I think that you're a great person for doing that and to be working in that field. I feel like you've always made me feel and made our friends feel safe, and like we can just come to you and it'll be okay.
It'll be okay. Everything's okay. It'll be there eventually.
And you're great at working with the person, the type of person, to show them the affection they need.
Thank you.
Like with, who was it that would constantly ask for hugs? Was it Annette? Jakey? I don't know. No, it might have been, I don't know. You're a hugger though.
Yeah.
You're a hugger. I'm not a hugger. but she's learned to comfort me.
I don't know what to do when people are crying. That's my thing. I just be like,
There.
do you want to hug? Like, I don't be like, I know how to communicate it, but if the person is in the moment, they can't communicate, I don't know what to do. It's hard. It's like been a hard thing to learn as of right now in the psych field, because you have some people that they don't want to be touched. They don't want to hug. They don't want to talk. They don't want to do nothing. And then you have people that I have patients that are like, I just really need a hug, and I'm like, okay, sure, you want to hug? But definitely just trying to work my way through that. Definitely.
Learning different people's personalities.
Yes,
and needs.
definitely. Because like I said, you have some patients that just don't. They need to be left alone. Some people need to just be left alone for a moment, and then later on, when they are okay and they're not in a crisis, then they can communicate. That's how some people are.
Yeah. As someone who doesn't like to be touched, I can say that you just sitting there has helped me many times. Just sit there. Don't, like, we don't need to talk. We don't, like, please don't touch me, but just, but just sit there, like, how do you say that word? Telepathy? Telepathy? It's something. Telepathy? Is that a word?
I know a word you're trying to say, but I don't know what the word is.
Like, just energy. Energy, the transfer of energies, it works. Like, I know you care, you're in the same room, you're close enough to me. Our energies are synchronizing.
I'm still stuck on the word, because I don't know what the word is. Telepathically? That's not the word.
I thought it was telepathy.
No.
See, this is the thing with being bilingual, y'all. I half know each language. Telepathy. I thought it was telepathy.
I don't think that is.
No. Somebody comment what the word is. Y'all know what I'm trying to say.
I know what word you're trying to say. I really just don't know how it's pronounced no more.
I don't know, but transfer of energy is like just sitting in someone's...
Telekinesis. I know that.
Telekinesis.
I just don't know. I don't know what it is. Telekinesis is.
I thought that's when you like move things.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is like.
Well, I know in Spanish it's telepatía.
Okay.
So that's why I was trying to match the word. Telepatía.
Maybe it is
telepathy.
telepathy.
I don't know.
Maybe it is telepathy. It's sounding more and more right every time you say it.
Telepathy?
It's gotta be telepathy. There's no way. There's no way.
That sounds more like it. Telepathy.
Telepathy, I feel like words just be hard, and since it's so hard to say, it has to be right.
Yeah, no, telepathy doesn't. That doesn't sound.
It don't sound right anymore.
No. Telepathy.
Telepathy. It's telepathy. It's definitely telepathy. There's
Telepatia. Yep.
Okay. It's gotta be telepathy.
Yeah, that sounds.
It's gotta be telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, telepathy. Yeah, no. It's like, it reminds me of telemetry.
I don't know what that is.
It don't matter. I barely know what it is. It's something to do with heart.
Oh, I definitely don't know that.
Telemetry is when they hook you up to heart monitors on a unit. I don't work with hearts. I don't. No. I think it means like electricity.
Like
telephone.
Yeah. Oh.
Like telephone. I think it means like some type of electricity.
That makes more sense. That does. Telephone.
But yeah, I don't work with hearts, so I don't know. That's why I don't go to a cardio unit at all.
Yes, but you're great at dealing with the mental.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Are there any resources that you think people should be more aware of?
Get a therapist. Get a therapist. There are the online therapists. There are in-person therapists. Get a psychiatrist. Stop putting y'all's toxicity on other people. And get a therapist. You can look one up. You can literally look up therapists.
Mhm.
Like, they have some on Bloom Health Centers, and I know Bloom Health takes a lot of different insurances. You can literally you can ask your primary care doctor to refer you to a therapist or a psychologist. Just be honest with your doctors. Stop saying you don't have depression and you don't have anxiety. And when it asks you on the paper, when they first give you in the doctor's office, put yes. Like, it's, you guys gotta vouch for yourselves.
Because nobody else is going to know what's going on in here.
Exactly. But I definitely recommend getting a therapist. There are plenty out there.
There are some free ones.
There are free ones. Don't wait until it's too late. Yeah.
I know there's this one website. I'll leave it down in the description and I'll put it right here. It's called like Pro Bono Counseling or something like that.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen that before online. Yeah, Pro Bono. Like I said, there's Bloom Health. There's like counselors.org. There's so many different online websites, and again, you can look up doctors in your area. You can look up therapists in your area. If they don't take your insurance, there is somewhere that takes your insurance. You can call your insurance providers and ask them to recommend you somewhere. You can also do that. A lot of people don't know that you can do that, but you can literally call your insurance and ask them who in your area takes your insurance.
It makes it
and
a
they'll
lot
give
easier.
They'll set you up an appointment. They'll give you all the names that you and phone numbers that you can call. It's a lot easier than people think. It's definitely a lot easier than people think.
Yes. There's numbers where if you're like having a panic attack or in that suicide type of mindset, there's numbers you can call where someone will talk you through it, talk you out of it. Even if you don't have insurance, there are resources out here that will help you out for free. So I'll leave a couple links down below so y'all can just click on them.
Just be honest with yourself. If you feel that you need help, it's okay to get help. I feel like a lot of people feel as though getting a therapist or a psychologist means there's something wrong with you. It's not. It's really not nothing wrong. A lot of people have therapists, a lot of people have psychologists just because they need that reassurance. They need somebody to talk to who they can trust.
Yes, a therapist will help you understand that there isn't anything wrong with you. You know, like a therapist will help you. Like you said, they'll give you that reassurance of, you know, what you went through and what happened to you was not okay. And it's okay for you to feel this way. And they'll also be able to tell you better than, friends are great, but at the end of the day, they're not professionals. And they'll be able to tell you what you can do to help you get through it, or what you can do to when you start having like symptoms of anxiety attacks, or explain to you why you're but why you're experiencing the things that you are.
Talk therapy is very important. And just because you need therapy or need a psychologist doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means you need some guidance. Like me, for example, I see a psychologist because I have really bad nightmares. I don't know why. I've had nightmares since I was in middle school. I can't sleep. So I go to a psychologist and I go to a therapist and they give me medicine that helps me sleep. Just because somebody sees a psychologist or therapist doesn't mean that person is crazy or that person is insane. We really don't want to judge people or, not encourage people to see a therapist or a psychologist if they need to. I feel as though, if somebody just walks up to you and say, oh, my therapist said this, nowadays it might be like, okay, they see a therapist, so what? But you never know. You might run into that person who was like, oh, you must be crazy. You're not crazy.
Right, yes. Yeah, sometimes I feel like another reason why people might not want to ask for help can be because they feel like the situation they're going through isn't important enough or isn't as bad enough. But some people go to therapy just to have someone to talk to, you know, like to get a second opinion. Like think about it this way. Doctors get second opinions.
Nurses.
all the time. Like, hey, come look at these lab results. Let me get your opinion on it. Therapy is the same thing. You know, like if you feel like you're not going through something as bad, okay, well then just get a second opinion on your thoughts. If doctors do it and they go through almost a decade of school.
What's a decade? 10 years?
10 years. Yeah, like if they go through all this school and they still ask for second opinions, so can you.
There's therapists that have therapists. There's therapists that have therapists. Like literally, there's therapists who have therapists. In the hospital setting, if you're a worker at a hospital, they offer you mental health therapy. They offer you their therapists. At my job, they offer you a line to call if you need somebody to talk to. It's that important.
Yes, and from if you're like in a position where you feel like you need to take care of people, that's exactly why you should get therapy. So, and like in order to be able to take care of people, you need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to help yourself so you can help others.
That's another thing I want to add to things I wish people knew. Like she said, if you can't help others if you can't help yourself. You can't help other people feel better if you don't feel better internally. It's not going to work out. You're going to drain yourself. You're going to drain your own battery.
Yes, yeah. Like even, I mean, people go to therapy for different reasons. You also don't have to talk about anything that you don't want to in therapy. You know, like you can just touch on one topic and then work your way in, or not even, you know, like you can make therapy what you want it to be.
Definitely. And you can make certain hobbies therapy. Some people go to the gym when they're feeling sad. Some people read books when they're feeling sad or if they're feeling down.
I would say that spirituality has been like a form of therapy for me. Just getting into and like, you know, like it slows me down out of this like hustle like world of where it's money. You're always supposed to be when I'm doing like tarot readings or like, I don't know, lighting a candle, that's just kind of like time to sit and process, yes, and check in with myself in a way of like, journaling.
Journaling is a big one that a lot of therapists and even myself in my position where I am and my coworkers, we promote journaling so much to our patients. Every patient gets their own journal, they get their own marker, and anytime they feel as though they can't communicate, they go to their room, they take space, and they journal. And then sometimes they'll even be like, Miss Aaliyah, can you read my journal? Can you tell me what you think? Can you, they do stuff like that. It's really cute, it's really sweet, But journaling is definitely a thing I recommend. I personally journal. I got my journal from Target. It's really cute. I just brought it so I can show you guys. It's really cute. It has, pretty little girls on the front. It's pink. It's got lines in it. I can circle the date.
Let me get my journal.
Yeah, definitely get your journal. But yeah, journaling is definitely a big thing.
Yes.
Ooh. Yeah,
With me and journaling, there was a time where I didn't want to journal because I kind of felt blocked. And it was like, well, what am I even supposed to write about? I was kind of more in that mindset of, you're not even going through anything. Why are you? But now I use the moon phases as kind of like journal prompts.
You did tell me that. I like that. Yeah, you can make your journal anything you want.
So like, this is my journal, right? And then I write the day that the full moon, the last quarter moon is, the new moon. And then I write.
Okay, I like it. And it's different colors. It's color coordinated. I like it.
Yes. I mean, I'll put like a typed up version of this. I'm also a graphic designer.
You know what you should do? You should start doing put journaling prompts at the bottom of your YouTube videos.
Oh.
Like what do they call it? I forget what they call it, but they call it something when you journal like that. I don't know what it's called. Me personally, I wish I brought my journal so I can show you guys, but I call my journal word vomit. I just write. I write the first thing that pops up in my head. I might write like a favorite song I listened to that day or a favorite movie I've seen that day. I'll put my mood in there out of 10 and I'll just explain that. I might put like a new dish I tried. I call mine, it literally says word vomit on the front first page. It says word vomit because I just write whatever pops in my head. It can be 10 different things in my journal, but it's getting it out. And for people who feel like really stressed out or they feel like there's a lot of things going on, journaling and writing it in that way, I will personally say it helps. It helps just to get it on paper, just to get it out of your brain. Like my brain is like constantly like, I'll have like 10 different things just pop up in my head, and it can be something that don't even matter in the moment, but it's there. And because it doesn't matter in the moment, I can't bring it up. Like I can't just bring up the like, I want a new car to somebody because it's random and we're talking about something else. So I'll write it in my journal later on. I want a new car, like stuff like that. Definitely.
Yes, and there's definitely like different ways of journaling. Like, do you do it on a daily basis?
I try to. It don't really happen that way, but I try to. It don't happen that way.
Like for me, on a daily basis, it's unrealistic because then I'm gonna feel pressure. Then I'm gonna feel stressed out because now, like the way my brain works now, I'm being overwhelmed because I know I have to do like a task every day. Thing. And then it's like, oh no, I didn't get to it. And then I'll like, I don't know. I do it more on a weekly basis and kind of just reflect on my week, or with the with the moon phases. It's kind of like the same prompt every week type of thing, but it focuses like on a different type of prompt every week. Like I'll give you an example. Like the full moon, I do what are you grateful for? The next week I'll do what's still bothering you, and I would say that's my favorite one because it's like, okay, well, like what is still bothering you? And then I'll think like, well, like what's been irritating you, and then that'll get me into, well, why is that irritating you? And I feel like sometimes I can get a little emotional thinking to myself, like digging deeper. I've also done some journals where it's just something as simple as like, I also design journals. I'll put that link in the link below.
It's really cute.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Yes. I designed one where it's just a different mood, but you can kind of just shade it in so like, and I would do mine at the end of the week, think back, like on Monday, was I sad, happy, angry, excited, just not feeling it at all? And that way I was like, okay, well, I can do that. I can shade in a mood phase. It is I'll leave the links below so y'all can look at the different types of journals, but I would design them based on your like your lifestyle or what you do. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're gonna have different journal prompts versus if you're like a mom or a student, you have different priorities, different tasks. Yes, but we can go on for hours and hours and hours.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you want to say or that you think people should take into consideration or no?
Just take care of yourself. That's it. I just feel like people downplay their own mental health, and that's not fair to yourself. You have to encourage yourself to do things like journaling or just taking a day away from everyone and recharging, or even just getting some extra sleep one night. It's little things like that that can really affect your mental health that you should definitely prioritize. You should always prioritize yourself. And that's it.
Yes. My last thing that I would want to say is be patient. And be patient with yourself. Be patient with others. I tell people when it comes to mental health, patience is key. Because like just like how when you go to the gym and you're working out your physical body, you wouldn't expect yourself to go into the gym and only be able to lift up 100 pounds and then the next day lift up 200. That's unrealistic. It takes time. You're building up the muscle. You know, you might start at 100 and then the next day is 101, or maybe you go back to 90, but it's all a work in progress. And I feel like a lot of people forget that the brain is also a muscle. So you have to work it out and train it, and you have to be patient with yourself. I think that a lot of people can get overwhelmed with everything that they want to do, but that just goes back to patience, and I'm still learning patience. Patience is hard, but just remember that it's one thing at a time. Of course, I do believe you should have many, many, many goals, and it's great that you do, but just start off with one. Just one tiny little thing that you can do in a day, and just remember that it's okay to not be okay as well. You know, like you could be doing great for 6 days out the week. If there's one day that you're not feeling so great, it's okay. And make sure to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. People are willing to help you, whether you know them or not. Again, all the links, or not all, but some links to free help and other resources will be in the description. And we will be back with another video next week. I thank y'all so much for tuning in on my first month of my podcast and tuning in on Mental Health Awareness Month. Yes.